Lesson 73, more on radical denominators. In this lesson, we're going to be working with square roots or radicals in the denominator. We know that we can't have square roots in the denominator, so we've been multiplying by the same square root in both the numerator and the denominator to relieve the denominator of that numerator. Now we're working on a two-term denominator. And so all we're going to be doing is multiplying by a conjugate pair. Now we talked about conjugate pairs a few lessons back. We talked about them in terms of imaginary numbers. We also talked about them in terms of square roots. For example, 4 plus I would be a two-termed, say it's in a denominator, okay, it would be our two-term denominator. If we're to multiply through by a conjugate pair, we would multiply through times 4 minus I. Okay, remember in conjugate pairs, the only thing that changes is that middle sign. Okay, so if it's positive, it becomes negative. If it's negative, it becomes positive. All right, we've done problems similar to this before, so we're just going to work through a few of these. We're going to work through two together, and then I'm going to have you do a couple on your own as well. All right, so for our first example, we have 4 plus root 3 over 2 minus 3 root 3. All right, obviously we have a square root in the denominator, okay, and we cannot have that, so what we're going to do is multiply through by the denominator's conjugate pair. Now, the conjugate pair of 2 minus 3 root 3 would be 2 plus 3 root 3. So we're going to multiply by both 2 plus 3 root 3 on the numerator and the denominator. Okay, this means that we're going to have to use our distributive property. All right, so let's work with the numerator first. All right, we have 4 times 2, which gives me 8. 4 times 3 root 3, which gives me 12 root 3. Root 3 times 2, which gives me 2 root 3. And root 3 times 3 root 3, which gives me 3 root 9. All right, we'll come back to simplifying that here in just a second. Now, in the denominator, we have 2 times 2, which is 4. 2 times 3 root 3, which gives me plus 6 root 3. Negative 3 root 3 times 2, which gives me minus 6 root 3. And 3 root 3 times 3 root 3, which gives me 9 root 9, and that's a minus. All right, let's work on simplifying the numerator first of all. All right, we know that the square root of 9 can simplify to be 3. All right, so then we have 3 times 3, which is actually 9. Then we can combine like terms. 8 plus 9 is 17. And 12 root 3 plus 2 root 3 is 14 root 3. In the denominator, we know that 6 root 3 minus 6 root 3 is 0, so we can cancel those out. The square root of 9, again, is 3, and 9 times 3 is 27. So we have 4 minus 27, which is negative 23. Right? Nothing can be simplified or reduced, and so that is our final answer. 17 plus 14 root 3, all over negative 23. All right, let's try another example. We have 4 minus root 2 over 4 plus 3 root 2. Right, again, we have a square root in the denominator, so we need to go ahead and multiply through by the conjugate pair. All right, the conjugate pair of 4 plus 3 root 2 is 4 minus 3 root 2. So we're going to use that in both the numerator and the denominator. Again, having to use the distributive property to multiply through. All right, so let's work the numerator through first. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times negative 3 root 2 is negative 12 root 2. Negative root 2 times 4 is negative 4 root 2. And negative root 2 times negative 3 root 2 is positive 3 root 4. All right, in the denominator, 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times negative 3 root 2 is negative 12 root 2. 3 root 2 times 4 is positive 12 root 2. And 3 root 2 times negative 3 root 2 is negative 9 root 4. All right, let's go ahead and simplify, starting in the numerator. All right, the square root of 4 we know is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. All right, so we've simplified all roots. We can combine like terms. 6 plus 16 is going to give me 22. Negative 12 root 2 minus 4 root 2 is negative 16 root 2. All right, so that takes care of the numerator. In the denominator, negative 12 root 2 and positive 12 root 2 cancel each other out. The square root of 4 is 2. 9 times 2 is 18. So we have 16 minus 18, which gives me negative 2. Now notice, in this problem, all of our constant terms are divisible by 2. So we can go ahead and reduce this by dividing everything through. If we divide through by a negative 2, we can actually cancel our denominator completely out. All right, so negative 2 goes into 22 negative 11 times, and negative 2 goes into negative 16 8 times. So we're actually left with negative 11 plus 8 root 2, okay, just by simplifying each term. All right, these last two examples I want you to go ahead and work out on your own in your notes. We'll come back and check them in class. The first one, we have 2 root 12 minus 3 root 3 all over 2 root 3 minus 3 root 2. All right, and the second example, we have 3 root 12 minus 2 root 3 all over 3 root 3 minus 2 root 2. All right, again, we're just multiplying by the conjugate pair. Make sure you use the distributive property to simplify. Go ahead and work those two out, complete them on your own, and we will check them when we come back into class.